looking for a book. This book literally fell out on the floor. It is called The Brotherhood. It's an old book, fairly old book. It was written by Stephen Knight. You may or may not know it. It is about Freemasonry. And it made me think again, as I always do, as I often do in my work, because it would be impossible in my work not to think about Freemasonry. And it is exactly the invisible membership that explains so much about our world. It's a parallel universe. It informs our law, our education, our banks, all public offices, including Parliament and royalty. They have their own code, their own symbolisms. There are at least 5 million members worldwide, although we don't know the exact figure because it's a secret society. They have been accused of all manner of dark deeds. It's notoriously difficult to confirm who is a Freemason. And believe me, I've tried because of the vow of silence. But there are famous members in history: Mozart, Walt Disney, Winston Churchill, Louis Armstrong, George Washington. And as I say, they have rituals, they have degrees, they have vows of silence. There's nothing that is allowed really to seep into the outside world. The Freemasons trace their foundations to around London 1717. The craft, as members call it, was based on a bond created by ritual and symbolism. The aim was moral education, that's what we're told, about building a better man. Crucially, however, all of this was to be conducted in seclusion from the outside world. And no wonder the movement has been open to so much misunderstanding over the years, and the secrecy has definitely helped that. Now, many people believe that Stephen Knight was murdered for writing this book. He died before he was able to complete his proposed follow-on to the Brotherhood. It was claimed he had a terminal illness, a brain tumor that had been removed previously. It was said that he had a long-term illness. But here's what's really interesting. For somebody who was supposedly aware that they were dying, I've never really understood why he wrote some of the things that he did in the Brotherhood, including talking about his stated intention to do a follow-up on Freemasonry. He mentioned in the publication that Freemasonry can be a really important factor in government, particularly in civil service and in some ministries, for example, defense. It can be an absolute disadvantage not to be a Mason. He said that the Masonic influence in the civil service warranted a book by itself. He said it will command an entire section in future editions of the Brotherhood when more detailed research was completed. Hardly the words of a man who knew he had a terminal illness. But here's where it gets a little bit funny. It does not escape my attention that Stephen Knight died at the age of 33. In Freemasonry, there are numbers and stages that you pass through: apprentice, journeyman, master, and then there are the 33 degrees of the Scottish Rite. That is right up there. There will be people listening to this saying, but my local Freemasons are fantastic. They take care of the disabled and poor in the community. And yes, absolutely, I'm sure they do. But there are many troubling aspects to the craft that should not be ignored. The issue of secrecy is absolutely one of them. Do Freemasons assist each other in business, in law, in the workplace? I've talked with cops who told me that they felt the odd one out because they were not in the local lodge. So is there a substance to this claim? Absolutely. I mean, it's almost impossible to substantiate some of it because of the secrecy, but we've heard some examples in history that have come out in the public domain. For one example, there was the Lancashire Police Authority who were obliged to pay £70,000 to a father and son who were assaulted and then arrested and prosecuted after stumbling on a Masonic dinner being hosted by a lodge dominated by the local police officers. And certainly Jimmy Savile was very involved with Freemasonry. He had his Friday morning chats with the cops at his place. Is like a Freemasonic lodge there. That's one example, or those are two rather, but I know through my work that Freemasonry is the invisible hand, the invisible guiding hand, nationally and internationally. They should never be dismissed, just as people working in the community doing good, because behind the cloak of secrecy hides the potential for a multitude of sins.